Rusty Buckets und dann gucken wir uns mal an, was Rusty Buckets zu den KYRIE Irving Trade zu sagen hat. Can KYRIE Irving save the Mavericks? Abfahrt.
Has just been traded to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie,
Der wildeste Trade, den ich seit langem gehört habe.
Dorian Finney-Smith, a first-round pick, and a handful of seconds. And as someone who has been hypercritical of the Dallas Mavericks, I could really not be more happy with this move. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you why.
Das ist hart. Also, meiner Meinung nach hätte da halt ein Big Man gefehlt, der das Ding nochmal stretchen kann. Jemand wie Christian Wood, bloß im Besser.
Real quick, if you end up enjoying this video, be sure to subscribe for 3 videos a week. Also drop
Rudy noch schlimmer. Oh. Ich würde sagen, der Trade hat mehr Star Power.
a like, only takes 1 second, it makes a massive difference. So this news literally just dropped, and
Bruder, er ist doch gerade erst
I
aufgewacht, ne?
immediately ran in here to record this video, but
so
I have a
sieht
lot
aus.
of thoughts immediately at the prospect of Luka Doncic and
Jetzt die Frage, hat er immer diese Ketten an oder hat er die extra nochmal fürs Video aufgesetzt?
Kyrie Irving playing together on the same team. Real quick, because that's the obvious thing that we want to tackle, I'm going to go ahead and throw out there my thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets real quick. I do think relative to what was being rumored to be out
Würde ich wahrscheinlich auch schaffen, mich hier, ne? Sag ich mal so.
there, that the Nets managed to get back a pretty good return. Dorian Finney-Smith is a really good rotation player. Spencer Dinwiddie has played there before, and he kind of does a, I don't know, C+, B- version of what Kyrie can do. That's a scoring guard who can be a scoring guard. Not as good as Kyrie, but it fills that type of role, and they're getting back a good role player in Dorian, and a first-round pick, you know, cool. Ultimately, I would definitely say if they were trying to get some players that can contribute right now, they did that while also managing to get some draft capital. So good on them. That's actually a much better return for Kyrie Irving than I originally anticipated. But now, let's talk about Dallas, because that's what everyone's going to want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
First things
Was gegen
first,
Dallas.
let's just address, I think that the notion that I'm sure people are going to bring up immediately is
Das kann ich mir auch
the
vorstellen.
how do you deal with
Ich sag, der bringt mehr Probleme als das Team, das kann ich mir auch vorstellen. Ich kann mir auch vorstellen, dass er einfach nicht in Dallas klarkommt als Kyrie Irving.
the fact that both of these guys like to dribble the ball a lot. And I will argue that Kevin Durant likes to dribble the ball a lot, especially lately, and it's worked out just fine. Now, obviously, Luka Doncic is someone who almost has the ball in his hand damn near 24/7, and that's not going to fly with Kyrie Irving on the team. So there's definitely going to be some adjustment period, and Luka is going to have to do more off-ball stuff. And ironically, even though he's not done it in the NBA, historically, from where he did it, you know, overseas originally, Luka does have some off-ball chops. It's not something that he is entirely incompetent in. So I'm not too worried about that. And Kyrie Irving, even though he's someone who is known for his handles, is also a lethal knockdown shooter, both off of the dribble and in the catch and shoot. And he's historically been a pretty damn good off-ball player, so I'm really not worried about this from a fit perspective. The only thing that might be there is
Also sehe ich halt nicht
a
so.
little bit of redundancy just in the fact that both of these players like to attack in similar areas and in similar ways.
Oh,
but
yeah.
at the end of the day, these are two players who have off of the chart shot creating ability, at least in Kyrie's case, really, really good three-point shooting ability. Luka's catch and shoot numbers are terrible. He's weirdly way better at contested step backs and things like that. But, you know, he can shoot. And
Das ist genau wie bei meinem Luka Doncic-Bild. Also würde ich jetzt nicht so unterschreiben, Bro, weil die beiden sind sich, wie er schon sagt, sehr, sehr ähnlich. Und die beiden dann einen passenden Fit zu finden im Team irgendwie, dass beide gleichzeitig irgendwie auf dem Court agieren können, würde ich als sehr, sehr schwierig sagen. Vor allem, ich würde halt Kyrie Irving eher als Point Guard dann nehmen als Luka Doncic, ne? Aber vielleicht, die werden es wahrscheinlich genau andersrum machen.
he's pretty good at cutting, all that.
Hätten sie lieber OG oder Siakam gut, das sehe ich auch. Ne?
I do think that this fit is not going to be too problematic. Another thing that's huge about this is Christian Wood has not gone anywhere, which was what I really thought was going to happen when this trade, if this trade were to go down, because I did a video speculating on trades most recent to this one, talking about, you know, the Lakers and Clippers, and of course the Mavericks were also mentioned in that video, the Suns, and I was really quite certain that Christian Wood was going to be a part of this move because there's been a lot of rumors suggesting the idea that Christian's probably not going to be a Maverick by the end of this deadline. Now, maybe that's possibly true. Maybe things will swing that way, and who knows. But right now, it looks like he's here to stay, and that trio offensively is about as good as you're going to get, because Christian Wood as your third best scorer is still somebody who can get you 20 a night on any given night. And
ja, es war auch ganz wichtig, dass Christian Wood da bleibt, weil sonst haben die einfach offensiv, oder offensiv sage ich schon, bei der Bigman-Rolle zu wenig Leute aufgestellt. Maxi Kleber kann das Ding nicht alleine wuppen und Norman Powell, Dwight Powell, ihr wisst, was ich meine, der bei den Mavericks spielt, der auch nicht.
And now you have 3 of those guys who are capable of getting 20 plus, and you manage to still keep a couple of decent enough rotation players, though I will say that I do worry if they do thin out a little bit at the forward position. I guess Maxi Kleber is going to have to step into that spot, or if there's someone else that I'm not thinking of, but I do believe that the
Ja, Kid auch der falsche Code wahrscheinlich.
Mavericks definitely got about.
Aber Kid auch immer ein guter Coach, um seine Starspieler gut nach vorne zu bringen. Nicht für das gesamte Team, aber für den Starspieler kommt er immer bis jetzt gut klar. Ob es Luka Doncic oder Giannis damals war.
As much bang for their buck as they could. I mean, ultimately, Kyrie replaces what Dinwiddie did and does it way better, and all you gave up was a 3-and-D guy and a pick that you probably want.
Warte mal, Spencer Dinwiddie ist wieder bei den Brooklyn Nets oder was? Hat er jetzt einmal eine Rundreise gemacht und einfach wieder zurück zum Start?
Weren't even gonna use. So, home run move on the trade front. I really think the fit's gonna work. So now, let's talk about how far this Dallas Mavericks
Heute Nacht um 4 das erste Spiel.
team could potentially go now that they have Kyrie Irving on the roster, because I really think this throws a massive wrench in really the entire Western Conference, because right now things are about as open as they could be, and because of that, a team making a home run move like this could actually swing things rather dramatically, and I think that's very well possible here. Now that the Mavericks have Kyrie, I think that instantly makes them significantly scarier than they were before to face. Because what has happened historically is that Luka Doncic, the teams that defend him in the playoffs just kind of queue up on him. And while he is still doing ridiculous stuff, ultimately the defense queues up on him enough that especially by the fourth quarter, when he's tired enough and it's very clear that no one else is really going to step up and do all that much, comes down to if Luka is really that good at carrying. And even he's so good that he was able to carry them all the way to the Western Conference Finals / the Suns were so incompetent they allowed that to happen. But any way it goes, right now it looked as though, or before this, it looked as though if the Mavericks go far, it's because Luka carried. Simple as that, there's no other way it happens.
Ich muss aber auch sagen, ich hätte niemals gedacht, dass Kyrie Irving da rausgeht bei Brooklyn. Hab gedacht, das wäre so ein krasser Pick, also so ein krasser Fit. Vor allem, weil er halt mit Kevin Durant klarkommt, weil die alles Mögliche gemacht haben, um ihn da zu bleiben. Alles Mögliche. Also klar, mit der Impfpolitik und so hat er reingeschissen. Aber es war halt einfach der perfekte Fit so. Ich hätte mir so gedacht, jetzt gib ihm nochmal 1-2 Jahre und die beiden werden komplett eskalieren. Aber irgendwie hat es anscheinend doch nicht mehr bei Kevin Durant und Kyrie gefunkt. Insgesamt, wenn Center nicht werfen können, ist das ja schlecht. Sehe sie ja jedes Mal an Looney, der Fetzer, hätte sie nur noch, hätten sie nur noch Powell, die wären aufgeflogen. Ja, true. Aber Looney ist halt, kann es auch nicht so viel sagen, weil der ist ein sehr, sehr schlauer Typ, ne? Der versteht halt das Golden State Mindset und Gamebook sehr, sehr gut.
That's not the case anymore. Kyrie.
Und da ist James Wiseman halt noch lange nicht, ne? Weil der kann in der G-League halt machen, was er will. Ne, der fängt den Ball, Putback hier, Dreier da, weißt du, das ist halt nicht so wie NBA.
Being here, he's capable of being the best player in a winning playoff series. So now you have someone on that caliber paired with Luka. He's easily the best teammate that he's ever had. And now the Mavericks can win and Luka can just kind of chill. And that is something that is really pivotal because that's been what I've been dying for this team to bring for Luka from the very beginning. From the onset, they took this heliocentric, he's the man, he does everything approach. And it was not good for his career, especially in the long run. And now we finally are going to be able to.
Er hätte dankbar sein müssen und bei den Nets bleiben sollen, aber der Mann hat ja einen Knacks. Er hat eine schwierige Phase, sagen wir es mal so, ne? Wie bei so einem Jugendlichen, der hat eine schwierige Phase.
See what Luka looks like next to an all-star player, an all-star guard. Hasn't had that yet, and I think it's awesome. And I want to say, as someone who has been super duper critical of the Dallas Mavericks, that they finally did something that I'm quite happy with. I was also happy with the Christian Wood trade, but this is really a low-risk, high-reward move. Little given up, especially a player that they were looking to move already. And
also ich glaube, das Größte ist... Achso. Stimmt, Digga. Bester Mann. Danke, Len. Möchtest du vielleicht Mod werden, Kapi? Ich glaube, das Schlimmste wird halt einfach die mental, ne? Also ob er mental mit Luka klarkommt, mit dem Team und mit Dallas, Texas. Ach, Mann.
Dorian Finney-Smith, just an absolute home run. Now, in terms of what this means for their championship hopes, I do genuinely think this instantly puts them solidly in the contender category. Now, I think that we're already on that cusp just because Luka is amazing, but ultimately I would have picked another team to win because of the Luka solo squad issue. But given that they have Kyrie Irving now, there's not really any reason to discount the Mavericks.
Ich kann eigentlich gar nicht sagen, dass ich heute Abend das Spiel nicht gucken werde, Digga. Ich muss irgendwie bis 4 Uhr wach bleiben. Vielleicht vorschlafen oder dann morgen spät streamen und dann das gucken. Ich muss irgendwie was machen.
There's really not any reason to feel like some team will
Der geht im
eventually
Sommer.
overcome them.
Das denke ich auch.
That principle will no longer apply.
Vor allem, er hat halt nur einen Einjahresvertrag. Genau so ein Ding wie Kawhi Leonard damals bekommen hat, als er zu den Raptors gegangen ist. Kurz eine Championship mit denen geholt und dann doch zu den LA Clippers gegangen.
Wow, I'm really happy with this move. Obviously, I'm just going entirely off of the dome. I'm sorry for that text sound, but this is awesome. Luka Doncic should be thrilled. And even if this doesn't go anywhere, and I said this before, I think in the most recent Kyrie video, that trading for someone at the deadline generally doesn't actually
Kann man noch nicht sagen.
yield
Nur, dass er nicht Champ wird, kann man noch nicht sagen, Bruder. Ne? Lass uns mal überraschen, aber ich denke es auch nicht.
championship result.
Nur, wenn es wieder so eine Championship wird wie bei den Raptors, dass sich alle davor einfach verletzen, Digga. Und sie natürlich ein paar gute Games vorhaben. Das muss natürlich auch stimmen, ne? Aber dass sich alle davor verletzen. Und bei Kyrie ist auch immer das Ding, dass er so ein bisschen Zeit braucht, bis er dann endlich ankommt. Mal schauen, wir sind halt auch schon beim 50., 60. Spiel oder so.
The really only time that you can point to it
Ist nicht mehr der Anfang
happening
des
is
Season.
Marc Gasol on the Toronto Raptors when they traded for him at the deadline in 2019 from the Grizzlies. Generally, not something that happens, even if it's a really good player, because there's adjustment period. That player doesn't go through a training camp with that team. There's a lot of moving parts that make it less simple than just looking at the talent on paper. So if I were a betting man, I would definitely still say that the Mavericks are definitely not my favorite just because of that adjustment period. But if Kyrie ends up taking a liking to Dallas and he thinks that the fit there is good and they're willing to pay him, because that's a thing that's questionable about pretty much every team in the league, is whether or not they're willing to pay Kyrie. If the stars align and he re-signs, the Mavericks might be my favorite next year, especially if they manage to put some good role players around those two. Really just a great move from the Mavericks. I know I keep saying that. And all things considered, a pretty good return for the Brooklyn Nets. So I guess I can talk about the Lakers at the very end here. Yeah, you took an L. And I just posted a video about Austin Reeves and their unwillingness to trade him. If it comes out to be true that they could have gone Kyrie and then they didn't because they didn't put Austin Reeves in the move, pretty pathetic.
That's
and
hard.
it's really sad. And it's
Imagine, Lakers haben Kyrie Irving nicht bekommen, weil die Austin Reeves nicht weggeben wollten.
just indicative of how awful Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office has been, and they should be damn ashamed of themselves. Anyways, with that said, those are my thoughts on this trade. Let me know what your thoughts are.
Ich habe Rusty Bucket nicht abonniert. Abonniert? Hammerhart.